Hello, I'm Daniel with Plutoport, and I'm here to explain our product. This short tutorial video should give you everything you need to get going, but if you want to see more detail, we have a manual online on our website at plutoport.com. And so let's get started. Across the top here, you can see that there are several menu items, and mission control is your home page. It brings everything together. I'll come back and explain more on this later, but for now, let me cover some of the things that are always the same in the product. You're always going to have this banner across the top. It's going to tell you where you're at. It's going to give you basic information, who's logged in and log out option date. And then over here, Plutoport announcements, it's going to have the latest announcements from us about the product, things that you might need to know about any upgrades or changes or situations going on or anything like that. And then if you look here, there's boxes that the information is displayed in, and these boxes are universal in the way that they work. So they're a lot like a spreadsheet. You can click on, let's look at this box here, My To-Dos. You can click on the headings to sort them, and if you want to sort them in the other direction, you just click them again. You can click on many of the entries here to drill down in to see further information. And then also along the top, on some of these, there'll be these circles. And whenever you see circles like that, that is a filter that allows you to remove certain types of items from the list by graying them out. And then they won't appear in the list. And over here, almost all of the boxes have little pluses. These little plus buttons are what you use to add something, and it's going to be whatever that thing is. Like in this unpaid invoices, so this is about invoices, so if you press the add here, you'll be adding invoice. If you press the add here, you'll be adding a to-do item, and so on. So those are the universal kind of ways the program works. Also, we have down here at the bottom, under most of the boxes, you'll see these little options: print, expand, export. Print is pretty self-explanatory if you want to print the data in that window. Expand, you'll notice that these are meant for snapshots, for you to get quickly to the most relevant information. But if you hit expand, a pop-up will come up that will expand this information. It will have more columns, it'll have more information, and a little more functionality for you. Some of the boxes also have a checkbox to include completed tasks or include completed projects, things like that. Because normally those fall off the list when they're no longer relevant. Okay, so before I come back and explain the rest of the mission control screen, let me show you the rest of the screens. I'll start at the end here. Our help screen is going to have information for you, basically going to lead you to our help section of our website and contact information. Admin, on the admin screen, you'll see we have a few key things that have to do with setup of the product, setup of the account, and things like that. Over here on the right, you'll see account setup. This should have your company's information already in it by the time you've signed up and you've got the product working. And so if you want to make changes, you can make them there, or additions. It's recommended that you do keep this updated and correct, because sometimes Plutoport uses this information to populate headers or footers or other types of information. Over here on the left is the security box. This is basically a list of your employees that will be using Plutoport. So if they're listed here, that means they have a login and a password, and they can get in and use Plutoport. And you can see their username. You can add new users here. You can see whether or not they're active, whether or not they have admin privileges. If they don't, then they won't be able to come to the screen. You can change their password if they forget it, for example. And of course, you can delete them by clicking their name, and it'll come up with their information, and you can delete them there. All right, so now let's go over here to the second of the major windows, the major screens. We've got profiles, financials, reports, and projects. So profiles, this is basically your records. Profiles are any kind of record that could be an individual or an organization. And as individuals, it could be vendors, customers, employees, anybody you want to have record on. And as an organization, it can be a company, it can be a church, it can be a nonprofit organization, basically it can be a government department, basically anybody that you're going to be interacting with that is a collective of people. So all records are one of those two types. Now, when you first go to the profile screen, it's just going to show you the search screen because we haven't brought anybody up yet. And as you can see here, you can search by company name, last name, address, all of these different things. Special field is a field that you can use that's particular to your business. So some businesses may want to list their records by unit number that they've rented out, or they may want to list them by customer ID number, or you know, whatever various information you have there, and that'll allow that to be searchable. In the admin screen, we also have the option to add and modify drop downs and other options and new fields, things like that. I'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, so let's bring up a profile. As you start typing a company's name, you'll see options appear down at the bottom. And so, and then they'll narrow down as you type. At some point, you'll see what you're looking for at the bottom there, and you can click its name to go to that profile. Now, it's somewhat like a profile screen in social media. You've got a picture up here, you've got the basic information here. And this is one of the really neat things that increases usefulness, is that we have this connections. And what this does, it allows you to connect records to one another. So for example, we have an individual record here. I could click and I could see that person's record, but they are linked to the company as a certain role. Could be manager, owner, all kinds of different options there. And so by having these links, you might have a customer, for example, that is a business. And you might also have a customer that is one of the people that work at that business, but it's for their home, you know, so you can keep everything straight that way. Another nice feature of the profile screen is this activity log over here. Now, the activity log shows you all of the events that have occurred in the past with this customer or vendor or whatever other kind of contact you have. So these are the different kinds of things that are listed here. You've got previous invoices, and you've got different actions with those invoices. Like, for example, this says invoice 1002 was created on this date, and it was paid on this. This is a different one, but you'll have different entries like that that show when different things happen to them. Estimates, here an estimate was submitted, here it was approved. That's the second category here. And lead tasks, these are to-do items that are connected with a profile. So if there's something you need to do and it's connected with a customer, for example, or a vendor, then you would create a lead task, and it would be listed here, but it would also populate into the appropriate person's to-do list back on Mission Control. And then this category here is communications. And that's where you can record phone calls. You can write notes on what went on in the phone call or a meeting or visit. emails, anything like that. You can keep records of your communications. That can be very important for a business. Okay, so that's the profile screen. Oh, and if, as usual, if you see this plus, that means you can add a new profile. If you want to search, that's this little eyeball here. And the edit button is the one that looks like the little pencil. That's how you make changes to the screen. So it's all pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Next tab is financials. On this tab, we have basically listed out all of the invoices and estimates that have gone out, and we've summarized revenue, expenses, things like that. This window is the invoice listing. And again, you can sort. You can search by clicking the eyeball to search for a particular invoice. You can see the total outstanding invoices down here. And let's see, estimates. Any estimates you've sent out that are pending or submitted. Over here. Oh, and by the way, when you create an invoice, you can convert it to an I'm sorry, the other way around. When you create an estimate, you can convert it into an invoice. And over here, we've got net revenue. And then down here, we've got paid revenue, expenses, and you can click on any of these and get more information about them. Okay. And then here's the reports screen. And by the way, you can export this data to any other financial record-keeping software that you use or records that you keep elsewhere. Here's an export button right down here at the bottom of the window as usual. The next screen is reports. This takes the financial data about your company and it summarizes it in a graphic form. It might make it easier to see what's going on with your business. Some of this is talking about gross revenue. Some of this is talking about net revenue. You got number of clients, things like this. This is a test sample account. So normally this would all be, of course, customized to your information for your company. Let's see here. So under projects, this is where you can set up projects so that your team can work together. You can assign to-do items that populate the to-do list on the mission control screen of all the different employees. And you can track who's been assigned what action items associated with that project. So as things become late, they turn red, and you can see what is past due, and makes it easy to manage a project. All right, so that is Plutoport at a glance. And as I said, I would show you over here at the admin screen, you can also click this data settings. And here we'll list all of the different drop downs, and you can customize the options in those drop downs to be fitting for your business. Now, a very important thing to do when you first get started with Plutoport is to bring in your existing company data. This screen here will help guide you through all of the steps you take to bring in that information from a CSV file, for example, that Excel uses, and then you can upload it here. In this screen, you can export your revenue and expenses to CSV, and from there import into any number of other places that you need it. So that is Plutoport's major screens. And then back here, Mission Control, you can always get there by hitting the logo. And Mission Control is kind of like a summary of everything else. So you've got your to-do items, and there are 3 types of to-do items. There's to-do items that come from projects. There's to-do items that are lead tasks. Those are the blue hands here. Those are any to-do items that you want to have associated with a contact, with a client or some other contact you have. And then there are just general tasks. That's the check marks. Those are just things like, pick up office supplies. They're not associated with any particular client. Okay, and then you can see which ones you need to do. You can sort them. You can see where, if something's late, again, it'll turn red. And over here we have unpaid invoices. So at a glance, you can see any outstanding invoices you have. Down here at the bottom, we have staff to-dos. This one is always going to be your screen, your personal to-dos. Down here, staff to-dos let you see what everybody is doing. You can sort by staff member or by description or by priority, so on and so forth. Submitted estimates, you can see what's out there waiting to be responded to. And your basic financials here, you can run different types of quick reports in this screen. And active projects, any active projects that are going on right now. And that is Plutoport. It's a simple product to use. It's meant for small businesses so that you can get up and going quickly. It doesn't have any extra complexity that you're not really going to be using, and that makes the whole product really easy to integrate with your business. So if you have any questions, let us know, and we'll be happy to help and answer anything you have. And in the meantime, thank you for watching, and thank you for considering Plutoport.